Rocksteady just released their 5th and final prequel comic issue this month, Suicide Squad Kill Arkham Asylum issue number 5. Now this comic delves more into King Shark's story during the premise of the issue where Arkham Asylum is in shambles and he tries to find a way to escape. I covered every issue from the series except for issue 3, just because I didn't find that one really interesting compared to these, nor does anything particularly eventful happen in that one. It's about Harley Quinn. If you want to read it, I'm sure you can find it pretty easily, but this issue here is the final issue before the events of the game happen. And is it better than the previous issues? Well, you'll see. Okay, so to begin, the comic starts off with King Shark talking about the history of sharks and how sharks have been around since like 450 million years ago, long before recorded history, before humankind, even before most of the dinosaurs. He goes on to give a whole history lesson about sharks and how they haven't really changed over time. He goes on to say that science told them that sharks were the perfect killing machine all those years ago, and they are still the perfect killing machines today, which would explain maybe on why they are still around. He goes on to say how shark kind was pitted against the most terrible and murderous beasts in the world, the scariest the world's ever known, and somehow they're still around. He refers to sharks as survivors, and then goes on to talk about Nanaue, the firstborn son of Chandraka, the shark god. I honestly kind of like this, just in general when DC characters talk about the origin. I don't know, I found it pretty interesting for what it's worth, but yeah. Anyway, it cuts to Amanda Waller talking to King Shark and asks him to get to the point of the story. King Shark then tells her that his point is that he is destined for bigger things. It then cuts to King Shark being tortured by Amanda Waller with her agents. Apparently, he was assigned on bathroom cleanup duty and he failed to complete his tasks, which means there would be consequences. The agents get anxious and ask Waller if they can just zap him instead of hearing King Shark's lesson on evolutionary science. Amanda Waller then tells him to hold on a minute as she is intrigued by his story. She goes up to him and then asks him about the point of the story, with murderous monster against murderous monster until a final murderous monster emerges victorious, a threat that eliminates other threats, with King Shark complying to her statement. She then goes on to say that if the monster fails, it doesn't really matter since it's just one less monster, with King Shark kind of hesitating on how she's wording it. She then thinks about how to pick which monster is the top monster and how to control it. She then tells her agents to put King Shark back in his cell and to skip his punishment as he gave her an interesting idea to explore. King Shark then introduces us to Waller and says how she's always had a special interest in him and how she always checked in on him in Arkham Asylum. A lot. It showed him in a cell next to Clayface, which, if you count this comic, it shows us that Clayface is alive. In Batman Arkham City, after he fell in the pit after his fight with Batman, we never really hear of him again, making people think he died, but no, he's here, so that's cool. Anyways, it shows Waller checking up on King Shark, asking about how he's doing after the Victor Zsasz incident, which in the first issue of the series, he killed Victor Zsasz. As she leaves, Clayface talks to King Shark, telling him that she's up to something. He then transforms into her and asks King Shark if he ever gets the feeling that she's sizing him up like he's a chess piece in a bigger scheme. King Shark then contemplates his question, and then it cuts to the Arkham riots, in which he realizes that it was Amanda Waller who set this whole fiasco up in the beginning. He reveals that he doesn't want to do anything with their plan, however, and just wants to escape and survive, as there's Argus agents surrounding him. King Shark then tells the Argus agents that he's not looking for trouble and wants to work things out peacefully. They then fire their guns at him though, which pisses off King Shark, which makes him ditch the whole peaceful thing as he lunges at them. These Argus agents are complete morons, dude. I would have been running away when I would have been gone. King Shark then starts killing all of them as he tells them that it's not his fault and he gave them an out, which technically isn't a lie. King Shark was level-headed here despite everything. He says he didn't want to do any of this and he didn't want to kill anyone until he started smelling all the blood and then he wanted to, which I kind of like this panel. It gives you this look on King Shark like he's kind of a good-hearted villain, all things considered, with just common shark tendencies, right? Because sharks are attracted to blood, so he wanted to be peaceful, but his violent shark side just interrupts that. I wish they explored that more. It's just cool to me, but, you know, I don't really expect any of that from these kind of comics, so it's just kind of cool to see here. But yes, he does go on to say here, actually, how that is a common thing of sharks. Once they smell blood, it's hard for them to stop. But then he looks around him during all this rioting and says that's not a characteristic unique to sharks as he sees the other big villains, which includes Killer Croc, Man-Bat, and Clayface. Spider-Man can be Homelander. I saw a video about it the other day. Homelander is very weak in comparison to the DC and Marvel worlds. The next panel shows these big villains kind of teaming up with each other. King Shark, Clayface, Croc, and Solomon Grundy actually, as they see an Argus agent trying to surrender. but then he just runs for his life because that's what you should be doing against these guys. Shark mentions how the blood frenzy makes it hard to stop terrorizing things in the Arkham riot, as all these guys continue killing all the guards around, which then left all the big bads with each other, leaving only one thing left to do, which is to kill each other. As they all get ready to fight one another, I was kind of angry about this because I was like, if they kill Killer Croc, I would have been really mad. Even though I don't consider this comic canon, it's just a principle. Croc is one of my favorite villains, and to see him relegated to dying here, if he would have died, would have made me upset. Anyways, King Shark then thinks that this might have been Waller's plan all along, pitting all the big monsters against each other and seeing who would emerge victorious. They all then fight each other, as he says to himself he thinks he can take on Clayface, since even though he is tough, he is still messed up from his last tussle with Batman, as that's what he heard on TV way back during the events of Batman Arkham City. I find this kind of dumb, like how is Clayface still messed up all these years later post Arkham City? Unless the pit he fell into permanently nerfed him, but I don't know, it's whatever. But it also shows Deadshot here waking up, which references the issue focusing on him previously in this series, so that's cool. Anyways, King Shark then goes on to say that if he does kill Clayface, what then? He mentions how Croc is nearly unkillable, and that Solomon Grundy is actually unkillable since he's kind of like a zombie, pretty much. He's not even alive, technically speaking. King Shark says that even though he is the perfect killing machine, that he should probably focus on surviving today as he makes a run for it. It then cuts to Amanda Waller with Argus outside Gotham a little after, with Waller and Flag landing their helicopter. As they land, Rick Flag tells Waller that he believes all the prisoners and crooked guards that died got what they deserved, but then mentions how the death toll of the event was a lot. Waller then reassures Rick Flag that people that did die were bad people. I always hated Waller. They did a really good job making her so hateable, which is the point of her character, so I guess I gotta give props in that regard. But anyways, it then shows Argus all aiming at like a sewer escape hole thing on a wall, preparing for someone to get out. Waller then mentions how heroes aren't going to save them from what's going on in Metropolis, as the heroes are monsters now, mentioning the events of Suicide Squad Kill Justice League that are beginning to happen, and mentions that they need their own monsters and the best of the best. Okay, so this art here, I think is pretty cool. I mean, Batman, GL, and Supes here with Brainiac's ship in the background honestly looks visually awesome. And I like how Clark's suit is like shaded black. I don't know, he looks menacing here. It's kind of cool. But I also hate how Waller here is like, we need the best of the best to fight this. So what, she's getting Harley, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, and now King Shark, like they're the best? I think that's dumb. They are most certainly not the best, but whatever. I like the art here. Anyway, the next part of the story has Flag asking Waller who their final contender is, since they do have Deadshot, Harley, and Boomer in a pile right here. Before she answers, she's interrupted by an agent that says they picked up movement of another Arkham inmate coming through to their trap. As they prepare to see who it is, it looks like a zombie Amanda Waller, which turns out to be Clayface as he lunges at Waller, grabbing her. She then tells everyone who it is and then tells them to blast Clayface. The agents then ask which one though, since Clayface morphs into her to be looking exactly like her. And then shows both the Wallers arguing with each other, trying to like convince the others which one's the real one. Out of nowhere though, King Shark jumps in to say that no blasting is necessary as he lunges at them and chomps off Clayface's head, killing him. He mentions how Clayface was gross since he's, Clay, and then tells Waller that he knew she wasn't the fake one because of her scent and how humans smell worse than dirt. Okay, so there, another Batman villain dying in these comics. Now these comics aren't canon to me, so it's whatever, but again, it's like the principle. And here's the thing, Victor Zsasz and Mad Hatter dying in previous issues, okay, I guess they're big monsters that deserve it. Clayface is more like a unique villain, kind of, who we really never spent too much time with in the Arkham games. This one didn't sit well with me, so more so than the others, but whatever, these prequel comics are whatever. Clayface dies. This comic I think actually contradicts the game, as you'll see here in a second, so I don't think it matters, but still, I don't like that they're using these Batman villains as just setup fodder for these other characters we really don't care about. But anyways, King Shark tells Waller that he knows she has a plan and that him being alive is a part of it, and that this is also his plan the entire time, to be the last shark standing. Waller compliments him and says he's smarter than he looks, as the Argus agents then blast him and knock him out, with Waller saying he's right and that he is destined for bigger things, as he said previously in the comic. The comic then ends with the epilogue, with the 4 Suicide Squad members waking up in Arkham. Waller and Flag are there, setting up the needles with the mini bombs inside. It then cuts to Waller going to the Suicide Squad members, telling them that today is the first day of the rest of their lives. The Suicide Squad members then realize they're in Arkham again as they all start to freak out, Amanda Waller then congratulates them on being welcomed into Task Force X, or the Suicide Squad, and tells them that they are going to save the world, or die trying, which is continued on in the actual game. Okay, so first of all, this whole sequence here contradicts the game because in the intro of the game, Waller explains to them where they are and stuff like the whole context and dialogue is very different, so that automatically contradicts the games here in the comic. Second of all, this comic series plotline was kind of dumb. Waller basically committed like a humongous war crime and got so many people killed just so she could recruit 4 scrubs to go into Metropolis and kill the Justice League? I don't think any smart person would do this. These comics just don't really make any sense, and they're not even canon to the games, I'd say. The game itself isn't even canon to the Arkhamverse, I think, but yeah, these were the prequels to the game. It just felt kind of weird, and while the comics here had some cool moments in them, like there were some moments I did like, ultimately it served no purpose, and to kill off Batman villains in them in ways that don't really make any kind of lasting or good impression is like, it's dumb to me. Comics here, like overall, I think are mediocre. Like for me, it's like a 4 out of 10 or 5 out of 10, I guess. No, like more like a 4 out of 10. But hey, at least they let you know the game is on sale now, just in case you somehow didn't know there was a game based off these comics, which would be weird if you're reading these comics without knowing that. But yeah, I guess. But yeah, there you go. I hated that Clayface dies. That was dumb. But this issue was the conclusion to the prequel comic books of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. What do you think about these comics though? Did you like them? Did you like any aspects of them? Do you find them canon in any way? Let me know about all of that, I am curious. And as always, any support in the video is really appreciated, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and peace.